Last episode, we talked about what ratings are and how they're collected. This episode, we're going to finish up our two-parter on ratings by actually getting into the math and demonstrating how ratings are calculated. But before we get into that, I need to do some quick Steven Universe news. Okay? Okay. So, just to make this quick, it's official. Steven Universe episodes will resume on Thursday, September 10th at 5:30 p.m. Eastern and Pacific, with the episode Nightmare Hospital. Obviously, we don't know much about it, but according to Zaptoit.com, Steven and Connie sneak into a hospital to steal Rose's sword. How did it get there? How are they gonna get in? Clearly, shenanigans are afoot, but all will be revealed once the episode airs, and that's when I'll get to dig into it. I mean, we'll get to dig into it. Together. Anyways, that's all for Steven U News. Now it's time to pull back the silver curtain and go behind the screen. Roll the opener. Welcome to Behind the Screen, where we look at media and see how it was made and why it was made the way it was. I'm your host, Victor Frost. So now that we know what ratings are and how they're gathered, we're going to look at the specific process behind determining the ratings. To do this, we need a market to look at in detail, and it needs to be fairly small so we can wrap our heads around it easily. Since I know my audience, let's use Beach City from Steven Universe as our imaginary television market. Unfortunately, the normal style of this show isn't going to be very useful in demonstrating this to you. It's a concept that really is best taught visually. So, let's switch things up. You ready? Here we go.
Here we go. Me out of the way and the information front and center. Perfect. So here before us is a little place to take notes and a map of Beach City, courtesy of the artist Lord Fluffers. On the top we have the docks and Beach City Funland, on the bottom is the beach, and the Crystal Temple is on the right. But all of this seems rather lifeless. Let's see what everyone is up to. Well, it looks like today is a beautiful summer morning. Steven and the Gems are watching Crying Breakfast Friends together. PD has the day off, so he's watching too, and the cool kids are watching as well, but only ironically. Mr. Smiley over at Beach City Funland is reliving the glory days and watching Music Channel's 80s Rewind. So are Sadie and Lars at the Big Donut. Not because they really care, but because that's the only channel authorized by corporate. The Pizzas are stuck watching soaps because that's Nanafua's favorite, and she hid the remote. They could push the buttons on the TV itself, but it's too high up without the stepladder, which Nanafua also hid. That and Kofi is starting to get invested. In an effort to gain inspiration for his next production, Jamie is watching Masterpiece Theater. Greg closed the car wash for the day to watch the Oceantown Remembrance special, which he does every year. He knew people there. The mayor and his useless bodyguards are busy with mayoral business, so their TV is off. Ronaldo, meanwhile, is binge-watching a horror series on Webflix. So, now that we know who is watching what, it's time to do some counting. As far as we know, there are a total of 10 locations with TVs. That's our universe. Of them, one doesn't have their TV on at all, and another isn't watching actual TV, so we don't care. That leaves us with 8 TVs that are turned on. That's our hut, or households using television. Hut is always expressed as a percentage of the universe, though you'll hardly ever see it with a percentage sign. Don't ask me why, that's just how it's done. Now that we have our universe and hut, as well as knowledge of how many households are watching any given show, we can calculate share. Share is a percentage of the people viewing television who are watching a specific program. In this case, we're tracking households, not people, but the process is the same. Before we do that, though, we're gonna need a little bit more room for notes, so let's get rid of this map and clean up our notes a bit. Better. Okay, so let's get the shares of all the shows. To do that, we take the number of households watching a show and divide it by the number of households using television. Now remember, those are all percentages. Now let's do the ratings. For this, we take the number of households watching a show and divide it by the universe. Again, all percentages. So what does all of this tell us? Well, ratings-wise, Crying Breakfast Friends is the most popular show on at that time. But in a market this small, becoming the most popular show is a difference of 1 or 2 houses.
And those are the ratings. But if we have ratings and that's the only thing people talk about, then why do we care about share? Why do we even have it? Rating and share are really two completely separate measurements. Ratings count everyone in a market when gauging how popular a show is. During prime time, this is okay. That's when the most people are watching TV. But during the middle of the day, when most people are at work or at school, i.e. not watching TV, ratings plummet. Suddenly, a show that might get crazy high ratings during primetime doesn't seem worth keeping compared to the primetime numbers of its competition. But share gives ratings context. During the afternoon, there might be fewer total houses watching TV compared to primetime, but those individual houses now matter more because they represent a larger percentage of the viewing market. You'll never see Judge Judy, Ellen, or Steve Harvey during primetime because they just can't compete with shows like American Idol, Castle, or The Big Bang Theory. But you would have to make a very strong case to cancel them because they just dominate the daytime day part. The last thing you need to know about with regards to ratings is the demo or demographic. There are lots of different demos that cover male, female, and people in general from ages 2 and up. Different networks care about different audiences. Lifetime cares more about women than men, Cartoon Network cares more about kids than adults, and the big three, ABC, NBC, and CBS, want to hit as broad a range as they reasonably can, skewing a little more towards adults. The big demo you'll see on ratings charts, however, is the people 18 to 49 demo. This group of people makes up the bulk of TV viewership, so logically they matter the most to most networks. Okay, now I lied a little. That wasn't the last thing. This is actually the last thing. Why does all this matter? Go ahead and think about it for a second or three. That's a legitimate question, just think about it for a sec. Okay, so if you answered anything other than money, then you haven't been paying attention. Nielsen doesn't track the viewing habits of dozens of thousands of homes and more than 100,000 people for the hell of it. Big businesses, small businesses, they all want this information because it tells them exactly who is watching what, where, when, and for how long. They want that because it tells them how to get their product in front of the eyes of the people that are most likely to buy it. It helps them advertise better. Toy commercials on Cartoon Network, breast cancer PSAs on Lifetime, motor oil commercials during racing events. For the TV networks and studios, it gives them very important information on how much they can charge for that valuable advertising time. Money, money, money. So, that's ratings. It was fun getting into this. I know it's not the most exciting subject in the world, but I hope this filled in any blanks you might have had about how they work. If you have any questions, feel free to ask away in the comments. I'll be happy to answer them if I can. The punishment video will be coming out very soon. I know it's a little bit late itself. But until then, I'm Victor Frost, and I'll see you next time.